This is a $3 million ultra rare hypercar, and it's got some pretty cool features. Best of all, we got two different ones. This is one of the fastest cars in the world, and it's called the Zenvo Aurora. Which will you take? Red pill or blue pill? Now, if you're not a huge car person, you might have never heard of Zenvo before. Zenvo is basically a Danish supercar company, and they've just created their most powerful and lightweight road car ever. It's called the Aurora, and they got the name from the Aurora Borealis, aka the Northern Lights. They've given us two different versions. This one is more focused for the track. It's called the Agil, and it has some differences to that one, which is for comfort, is called the Tur. First of all, what you're gonna get on this one is a lot more exposed bodywork. So for example, when you go to the front, you're gonna see the suspension. This is actually double wishbone suspension, which means that the wheel basically stays flat on high turns. Instead of tilting, it stays flat and can get more traction at high speeds on curves. You're also gonna get exposed suspension at the back, but the entire car is designed to have stability at high speeds, more downforce, it has more arrows, more spoil. I mean, look at the size of the spoiler compared to that one over there, right? I mean, this is designed for the track. It's got 1,450 horsepower, which is a lot, it's a lot. But that one's got even more. That one has an additional 2 electric motors in it, and each electric motor has 200 horsepower. That makes that one have 1,850 horsepower, which is complete insanity. Both of these cars have the most powerful V12 ever installed into a road car. So anyways, we're talking about a pretty fast car. This is 0 to 100 in 2.5 seconds. That's 0 to 100 in 2.3 seconds. Center locking wheels, because this is basically a race car regardless. I mean, look at the front splitter. Look at the size of this thing. I mean, that's like a piece that big, and it goes straight into the wheel. That's the Zenvo logo, by the way. Again, if you're not familiar with the brand, it's got Thor's hammer going down the middle. That's a very Viking thing to do. On the sides, again, the arrows are just more noticeable. You can literally see the wheel from this angle. So when you go this way, I mean, you get the entire, you're exposed to the entire track. This is similar to the Valkyrie, where you can basically see through from the front to the side. Now, I'm gonna open the doors in just a second because there's some pretty cool features in there that you wouldn't expect, but let's start with the back. First of all, gigantic spoiler, end to end. This is actually active, so when you hit the brakes, it'll slant up. You'll see the shape of it. It looks like an X-Fighter jet or something. It's got the, you know, linear taillights going end to end, very thin, very sleek and nice. But I like the general shape of it. It's like, you know, the spoiler kind of comes in, angles in like a half hexagonal shape, but then the bottom half of it also kind of matches very well with the spoiler. And then you have this gigantic exhaust cover going down the middle, and the rear tires exposed. It's just a cool looking car. And what's interesting too is you're gonna see there's kind of two things going on the side, right? So first of all, this right here, this kind of fragmented carbon fiber, that's a heat shield because it gets hot and you need to protect the car, right? The other part that you see is the carbon fiber monocoque. This weighs under 100 kilos for the monocoque in the frame. The whole point is to make this car very lightweight. In total, this weighs about 1,300 kilos, which means the power to weight ratio is over 1 to 1. Power to weight ratio, again, if you're not a huge car person, just basically means the amount of horsepower to the kilos. I want to show you guys the inside. Starting with the door handle, there's no visible door handle anywhere. Instead, what you have is a touch sensor handle on the outside. So when you put your hand here, there's nothing to latch onto. Instead, you just touch. You hear that? It unlocks, and then you can open this door up. And what I just touched, where is it? Right there. You see that? Little sensor right there. That's the door handle. That's it. They've kept it very automatic. So take a look at the inside. Again, everything glossy, exposed carbon fiber. Even the seats are just literally bolted right into the body. That's just to not waste any extra weight or anything like that. So going down the middle, first of all, this is a much more bare car than some of the more fancy supercars they might see on the road. A lot of them have like touch screens and stuff. This is zero BS. This is just for driving. The owner of Zenvo has said that he doesn't like all the digital stuff going on, so he wants to keep it physical. So he's left all the physical buttons, you see, click, 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 everything there. At the top, you have like fighter jet style toggles. That's basically your emergency lights right there. And that's how you lower the windows. It's pretty cool to like lower your windows with little fighter jet triggers. To kind of keep the physical aspect of it, these are all physical gauges. So, the typical analog that we've seen in the traditional cars. But if you want, you can just hold this button down and watch this. Ooh, that is amazing. And that basically now gives you a digital screen, so you have your Google Maps. If you want to call your mom, when I go and I tap this, you see it says Mum. It's a British mom right there. Another British mom. That's your rear view camera, your track time, and your kind of Apple CarPlay. And then on this side, there's not one, there's two. How cool is that? That is awesome. So now you have your tire pressure. You also have your G-force, kind of your center of gravity, your brakes, another side view camera, and just in general, your electric engine status. The reason why this has so much horsepower is because it's a 6.6 liter quad turbocharged V12, but it's assisted with a lightweight electric motor. It combines the pressure to produce a ton of horsepower. They're only ever gonna make 50 of these and 50 of those. So we're talking extremely rare. They're gonna start at about $2.8 million, but a lot of them, almost all of them, have already been sold. So basically getting your hands on one of these is gonna be very difficult. Hopefully on our new auction platform, sbxcars.com, we'll hopefully get our hands on some of these, be able to sell them, because this is one of the most rare hypercars in the world, at least new generation, right? We're not talking about older ones. From the front, first of all, what you're gonna notice is that the intake has now been divided by another front splitter. This one right there is a little bit more covered up. The bonnet has a little bit less exposure going on, and you already get a sneak peek of the interior, right? You see all the leather going on. So when you go this way, you also notice that the side is also just a little bit more elegant, a little bit more, I wouldn't say conservative, but it's definitely not as crazy and aggressive as that one. I mean, look at that. That's like, you got the carbon fiber fin going through the side. You get the same carbon fiber monocoque. This time, you don't get the visible heat shield, and you definitely don't get the visible suspensions, right? This does still have the double wishbone suspension in the front and the back. If you take a look at it from here, you can see that double wishbone right there. Now going to the back, now this looks like something more road legal. Again, even though they're both road legal, but again, they've kind of just made everything a little bit more classic and elegant. Everything ties together. There's no gigantic spoilers, nothing exposed, but the shape is still very nice. What's interesting is that the exhausts that before maintain that like hexagonal shape, it's the same thing, it's just that this time it's covered with this blue piece right there. Zenvo, and then this is a brake light right here. That right there's a brake light. You do get to see the suspension from the back too. Before you open the doors, you'll notice this gigantic hood scoop going straight into the engine. So air flows through here, boom, boom, straight into the engine, straight into the V12. That one has so much more going on with it that I almost didn't pick up on it. So anyways, same deal going on with the door opening for this one. Has a sensor. This opens up. Now that's a different interior. I mean, look at that. So, I mean, that is bougie. This looks more like a designer bag. You went from having a pure race experience to having a designer bag. This is very elegant plush leather. You see that? Look at that. Very squish. Look at the squish factor on this. I mean, that's like a 9 out of 10 squish right there. Danish flag. And what's interesting is that this is a very Danish seat because there's no stitching. You guys know those Danish egg seats? See them right here. No visible stitching anywhere. Instead, they've kind of scooped it behind, and I like the squish. It's got a nice squish to it. So, getting inside, this feels a little bit more, I don't want to say other car brands, but this feels a little bit more like a Pagani, where it starts to feel very elegant, or a Di Tommaso, when you have the chrome pieces, exposed carbon fiber, wrapped leather, it just has a better feel to it. But you'll still notice that there's no electric screens anywhere, no touch screens, none of that. You have this AC vent, which is very discreet also. There's no like real standout pieces except for the middle, which I think is nice. It's got the same kind of control panel that we just saw. You see the space right here? That little extra space right there. And yeah, they've just kept it really, kind of drive focused. Because this is integrated into the monocoque, it's not adjustable. you can't recline, forget about forget about that. But what you can do is you can move the pedals up and back, and that's with a little panel right here. I can adjust the pedals by doing that. Click. Like that. Another detail I like are the turn signals on the steering wheel like this. This actually makes a lot of sense, and I'm surprised that no one, or I haven't seen this anywhere before either. Like, you know, Lamborghini has it here, so you have to, you know, with the Huracan, you have to flick it like that. But this is so comfortable. So you're driving around, yeah, look, like that. Right, left. It's so easy. I'm surprised this is the first time we've ever seen this. At least that I've ever seen this, and I drive supercars and hypercars all the time. Also, you have a little bit more going on. The rest of your analogs are integrated onto the steering wheel, and the centerpiece is a carbon fiber kind of layer. Gear selectors are chrome. This version, the Tour, weighs 1,500 kilos, plus still going over 1-to-1 on the power to weight ratio. Yeah, this is super lightweight, 1,850 horsepower. Like, cars are just completely getting out of hand now. You know, I remember when, you know, the Aventador came out and it was almost 700 horsepower. It was like mind-boggling. Let me know which one you guys think looks better, by the way, because I think that this one looks better, but for personal practical use, I prefer that one. The interior on this one is also much nicer. I mean, they look incredible, but don't forget, I mean, this is almost $3 million. I mean, this right here is a mansion. You have two mansions in front of you right now.